Hi everyone, welcome to Foreign University Self-Learners. This is Sherry again. This week is the Christmas week where a lot of people in Calgary and in Canada would be taking generally a week off if they're able to, perhaps more than that. The weather as we speak is minus 30 degrees Celsius. So for people who are not traveling, what they probably would like to do is snuggle up next to the fireplace and have a few books with them, as it's one of the quietest time that they're able to enjoy some good reads. And so here I am, hoping to introduce you a few good books for you to cuddle up next to a warm place when you get a chance to do that. The first writer I would like to introduce is Margaret Atwood. She's a household name, not only in Canadian literature, but also worldwide. Now, the particular book I have in hand, Negotiating with the Dead, A Writer on Writing, may not have a translation in Taiwan, but it's an interesting read for those of you who are curious about what it's like to be a writer, what is the process to be a writer. However, here's one example of the book that's available in Chinese already, published in Taiwan, The Handmaids Tale. And that's one of the perennial classics where for many of us who study literature, we would almost, Canadian literature specifically, we would definitely read something by Margaret Atwood. And so this is but one of the examples. She's one of the most prolific writers in Canada and in the world. And I think for anyone who is curious about Canadian literature must read her because there are some elements that are very different than that of the American writers, for example. The next book that I'm introducing, or the author, is Yann Martel. He's also a Canadian writer. And Life of Pi is one of his most famous and well-known titles out there. And of course, this has been the book that has been filmed by Li An. And the interesting thing is, I've had this book for a while, and I have been having it sit on the bookshelf. But as soon as I watched the film, I realized that some good quotes were quoted from there, and so that got me really interested into reading that. So for those of you who have not read the book, I strongly recommend it. It's a very fun book, very interesting and very engaging. The third author I would like to introduce to you is Elif Shafak. She is a Turkish writer, but she writes both in Turkish and English. She grew up with her mother, who's a Turkish diplomat, and so has lived in several countries and cities, including several of them in North America and as well as in London. There are several titles that has been translated into Chinese as well. And so here's one example of it, The Bastard of Istanbul. She's a journalist, or has been a journalist, but the fiction are the titles that I recommend the most, as they're full of imaginary images and full of magic. The last author I would like to introduce to you is a Peruvian writer, Vargas. The specific title I have in here is in Spanish. However, this book has been translated into Chinese, as so are several of his other novels. And there's one particular reason I'm introducing this one, because it is novel written in 1977, but it's got a very strong autobiographical element in it, where he was talking about when he was in his 20s and fell in love with one of the aunt, distant aunt, who's about 8 years older than he is, and they actually eventually got married as well. So the whole style of writing and just the whole account of this encounter and what has been happening in his life in during that stage, during that time, it's very interesting. So it gives you not only a background of what this author is about, the growing pains he was going through, but it also gives you some context of what Peru as a country was going through as well. He is also one of the authors who has visited Taiwan for a few times in the 1980s. And in 2010, he won Nobel Prize in Literature. So there we go. I hope you enjoy all the world literature and the titles that you can get your hands on. And I look forward to hearing you share more when we have the chance. Bye now.